Guys, what is up? What's going on out there today? Hey, it's Brent Abel here, webtennis.com. Another episode of the the mental midget. At least that's the way that I used to be. I was sort of the poster boy for, man, just getting so upset, so ticked off, so pissed off, so much anger out there. Yeah, letting the whole world know when something went wrong that hey, I know the answer, I know what I did wrong, but just kind of like this self-criticism that was like, God, would you ever talk to a student the way that you talk to yourself? And I had a guy once come up to me and just said, "Man, why are you so rough on yourself?" You know, um, would you, like I just said, would you actually talk to someone else that way when they made a mistake? And my answer was, well, of course not. And then it came back with, well, then why are you so rough on yourself? And so I want to give you, I want to give you kind of a little bit deeper dive on my story, what I was like back then, and then kind of what I figured out, which has completely changed my game for not only the results, getting way better results, but just the love and the joy of the game, which for quite a while for me was not really happening. Look, guys, a lot of this stuff is mindset training. And a big part of it is the 80-20 reality, which is 80% of the time, when we're playing matches, we're not playing points. It's only about 20% of the time on average do we actually play points. So, what I learned over the years, the decades, was that if you manage the 80% of the time when you're on the court, which is spent between points and on side changes, when you do that, you tend to play at the very top, consistently, the very top of your skill level, your current skill level, over and over and over again. And that's when you start to win really close matches. That's when you start to really develop some mental toughness. What I've got for you is a free video. It's a 9-minute video. There's a link down below. When we're done today with today's message, I want you to go on down there and click it and and get inside my between points routine. It's a 4-part between points routine that for me has been a game changer, and I know that it will for you as well. Look, um, why are why are so many of us so rough on ourselves? We're so tough on ourselves. We've got this thing that if we don't do, we don't execute a shot perfectly, or we keep making the same mistake over and over again. Um, Man, I mean, I used to get so throwing rackets. I probably busted a racket now and then. But just this whole thing about just the self criticism. Most of the time, I would say something out loud so that, my opponents could certainly hear it. My doubles partner could hear it. The adjacent courts could hear it. Kind of as if, hey, if I do this, and if I really beat myself up a little bit, this is good for me. And it really never moved the needle for me. And I remember one time playing a guy over in Golden Gate Park in San Francisco in a tournament, and I just thought, man, I should be beating this guy like a drum. And I wasn't. And I was just making a boatload of mistakes, got all pissed off, lost the match, went up on the bleachers and kind of woe is me, and watched another match or two in this tournament. And then I saw this one guy who was doing what I thought was the same thing that I had just been doing. And my thought to myself was, my God, is that what I look like out there? Because that guy looks kind of like an idiot. And so I had that original epiphany. It took me a while to kind of, stop doing that. But what I eventually came to believe, and a lot of this was playing a lot of tournaments and watching the top guys, and just watching how they handled themselves when they missed a shot or something didn't go their way. And what I discovered was I mean, if there's any kind of internal self criticism, it really was more like, well, okay, all right, I guess that's all right. But what I meant to do instead was this thing, right? So it wasn't really a negative thing. It was more like, all right, well, I guess it's normal that we're all going to miss now and then, but what I really meant to do instead in that situation was whatever it was, right? And I just finally came to the belief and the realization that getting pissed off um, didn't didn't make me a better player, right? Being tough on myself, being Mr. Self-criticism, being tough love on myself, it just didn't really move the needle. And so my suggestion to you um, is to not do that anymore. If you're the kind of person, you're the kind of player that does that. The sequence I went through was okay, well, there's got to be a better way. Maybe if I figure out how to not get pissed off, better things will happen. When I first tried it, all I did was just go, okay, well, I'm just not going to react. And so that was like a white knuckle effort, right? Just sitting there, just holding on tight, not trying to react. And that really never worked, right? And so what I eventually came to realize was, look, um, you got to find a way that when you make a mistake, that your nanosecond initial response is way more on what I just said earlier, which is, okay, all right, well, what I meant to do instead. And actually, there's part of my mini mindset, my 5 mini mindset skills training course that's actually a little bit deeper than that, that I think is a way better way to do it. But for now, what I want you to do, um, two things. Number one, if you've not yet signed up for my 80/20 reality, the between points reality. It's right down below. I do want you to get, there's a link down below. I do want you to get signed up for it because, again, how we manage the 80% of the match, that initial part, the 4 parts between points routine, the first thing in that is controlling your emotional response to whatever just happened in that last point. So that's obviously crucial. But the other thing I want you to do is I really want you to start thinking about, is being tough on yourself, is being rough on yourself really making you a better player? Or, in fact, are you still making the same mistakes that you've been making for years? And if the answer is, yeah, I'm still making the same mistakes, getting tough on myself, I guess, is not working. Maybe there's a better way to respond to making a mistake so that you actually do become a better player over the course of time. And if the answer to that is, well, maybe it's worth considering, maybe it's worth trying, then just start figuring out how to do that. Just start figuring out, well, what would be my initial response? What would be the most helpful initial response at the end of a point that would keep you from letting the world know that, oh, I know what I just did wrong, or letting the world know, really, really, come on, you're better than this. Um, and this between points routine, if you really get it, look, I got a lot of players who sign up for this thing, right? I'll be the first to admit they sign up for it, they read it, they go through the 4 parts, they look at it, and they go, "Oh, okay, this all makes sense. This sounds great." Do they ever go out there and practice it? No. Well, do they ever kind of, when the match gets close, and they go, "Oh, that's right, I got to go through the between points routine." Yeah, they do that, but it doesn't feel authentic to them. They haven't really practiced it to where it feels natural. So, part of what the message is today, in terms of controlling that negative emotion and being so tough on yourself at the end of points, is getting inside this and practicing this between points routine. And, you know, I know it's boring, but if you want to become a better player, then you need to do something different than being so tough on yourself. All right, guys. I'm probably belaboring the point. Only because I used to do that. I used to be that way. I used to be the poster boy for just, man, anger central. And I'm really glad I don't do that anymore. And I'm really glad that when I make a bonehead mistake out there in the court, whether it's in practice or whether it's in a match, that there's this initial realization that no one's perfect. I mean, Fed, has he ever played a match where he's hit every stinking ball inside the court? Of course not. That's never, ever going to happen. So if you give yourself a little bit of break on that, that's reality. It's going to happen from time to time. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't give you an opening, doesn't give you an opportunity, shouldn't, that you should get pissed off of that for missing a shot. um, then you can start thinking differently about how to emotionally respond at the end of a point. And once you do that, I think what you're going to find, if you really practice it, what you're going to find is that mistakes are fewer and far between. Number one, but number two, that you take this level of why we love to play the game of tennis to such a place that the enjoyment of the game is so much better. All right, guys, look, I hope this has been helpful today. Down below, click that link and get signed up for that free 9-minute between points video. Any questions, any comments, remarks, feedback? Would love to read what's on your mind. Just throw them down there in the comments area. I love to read your stuff, and as always, promise to respond within a day or a couple. Guys, it's time. We got to get out there. We got to help someone else have a great day, guys. I'll see you again next time.